Hello, everyone. Welcome to our third talk of the LATAM Digital Talent Summit. Um, Here today, we're going to change a bit of our topic. We're going to talk about more digital. We already talk about data. We already talk about innovation. We already talk about talent. And today, we have a special guest, Vinicius. Thank you so much for attending to our summit. Vinicius has a really interesting background. He's currently working for LATAM at Mighty Hive, a part of the S4 Capital Group, including Media Monks. He's been developing topics based on digital for good and green digital, which is the topic he's going to develop today. So please, if you have any questions, we will address them at the end of the talk and leave it on the chat. We're being broadcast, so thank you everyone all over Latam, including Brazil, for joining us today. So Vinicius, when you're ready.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. I'm just going to share my screen. Just let me know when you can see it, and then
Absolutely.
we can start.
We are ready.
Cool. So just thanks for the introduction. So I'm not going to extend here. So as Melissa told you, I work at for Capital, which includes Media Monks and Mighty Hive companies, delivering digital transformation for big companies here in Brazil, but also including Mexico, Argentina, and other Spanish-speaking countries. I'm a tech lover, and I also love to discuss about the latest technologies and to see how they can transform the world. So just a little bit of background about S4 Capital, just very quick. For the ones who doesn't know it, S4 Capital is a change agent for the modern marketing. The way that we see the industry, that's previously you showed up with many partners, your creative agency, digital agency, consultancy, social agency, many and very complex environment to operate and to find synergies and to really transform the business. And then we think that this model is broken. That's too slow for digital channels. Right now, we need to go from end to end in a very short period of time, to test, to learn, to gather all the data that we saw from the latest talks. And we should know that because Sir Martin Sorrell, the founder of S4 Capital, founded the other way in the back 70s. So we know why this is broken for this new era. And the way that we deliver here, we found end-to-end. We are an end-to-end partner as your modern marketing accelerator. So as I mentioned, we go from strategy, from all the needs that your company have or the business needs, and then we connect, and execute that and deliver from end-to-end, either your digital campaigns, your platforms, your data tracking, your data algorithms, your brand positioning. So we do that from an end-to-end perspective. But what I'm gonna talk here is not about this model. I'm gonna about how we can actually use that for good, And I would like to invite you to 3 stories. The first 2 about the past and about the future. I'd like to invite you to some of things that happened to me, and also I'd like to share some thoughts about today, how we are seeing the world, all some evidences and examples that companies that are using digital for doing good. So let's start about the past. Back in the year 2012, that was only 8 years ago. It's not a lot of time. You realize that the world was like this, like iPhone was only 2 or 3 years old. Smartphones were very limited, especially in Latin America, where the broadband brand penetration, the cost, the accessibility, that was very limited. WhatsApp was only 3 years old. SMS was still very used. The telecom companies were fighting against WhatsApp. Brands are not using that as a channel to communicate with the clients, to engage. Right now, we can already pay through WhatsApp. Instagram was only 2 years old. It was much more developed in the US. Right now, here in Brazil, it was not. It was just more a fad. It was very niche. And the Netflix, as we know today, the streaming platform was completing its first year in Brazil. So that was only 8 years ago. But the stories that I want to tell is that this was the same year that I started working with business consulting. So technology was emerging. I entered to learn about business, and over the last 8 years, I developed more than 40 projects in 10 industry, 3 countries: in Brazil, Mexico, and Argentina, and was a great time. I learned about a lot about business, exposure to C levels, different industry, learn about a different business model. But at the end, there was one question that was always worrying me, and was worrying on my mind. Over these 40 projects, in all the experience, only one was a far good project. Only one had a positive impact, not talking about money, but talking about how we can do good. And that was for the government, for helping to implement a new ways of learning here in Brazil, focused in São Paulo. And that was I realized that all these projects, all the way that we did business was pretty much the same, and this model was still broken. The model was help clients make money or go home. All the discussions start about making money, not doing good, and that model was faded to to an end. If we fast forward a couple of years after I started in business consulting, I don't know if you all know Artemisia, but it's an accelerator company that focuses on helping startups, for non-profit startups that are doing great impact. And at that time, I had the opportunity to join an acceleration program of them with one question in mind: on how could we increase the talent attraction for the non-profitable sector? How can we take all this business consulting and make them work in this non-profitable sector? Because I didn't understand why the ones that were making money were the ones that were not doing good. That was the main question. And as a summary of this experience, we had a wrong assumption. We were discussing about seeing the word fragmented, that doing business and doing good were things that were not part of the same world, was things that were separate. Great. So just let's also fast forward a little bit. After we saw the past, let's talk about the future. And I want to move forward to 2017, 2018. I know it's already in the past, but I can tell you that we have a glimpse of the future. At that opportunity, I had the opportunity to spend a couple of months in Jerusalem, Israel, studying at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in this program. It's called TIP, Transdisciplinary Innovation Program. This program was, we learned about emerging technologies. We talked about a lot of researchers that were doing, state-of-the-art discoveries in several topics, in several industries, like futurism, computer vision, biotech, big data, and cybersecurity. And the main message that comes with this program is this of transdisciplinary. It's that the word is not broken as I understood. It's not doing good or doing business, or tech was not business. We were all connected. So in this new world, we need this connection. We need this transdisciplinarity. And I'm going to show you a little bit of examples about why I'm still talking about the future, even if this message was from 2018. This was a picture that we took there that compares, the hamburger that we buy from stores, the raw beef, and the culture beef. This one in the middle was a beef that is doing in vitro, in the lab. I know that there are many companies that are trying to solve this problem, like Notco, Fazenda Futuro here in Brazil, Not Impossible Labs in the US. They're trying to reduce the usage of animals to produce meat and to produce protein. But this company, it's called Supermeat, it goes still beyond of that, this new technology. It just take a little bit of drop of source cells from chicken, for cows, for any other protein and any other animal. Just take a drop, and it uses technology to grow the cells, to form the tissues, to close the capsule, to deliver, and then to grow meat. And even this growth, maybe in the future, could be our microwave, for example, so we can enjoy. So that revolutionizes the industry completely. Just to give another example why we're still having technology coming in the next years that is amazing. This technology is called lab on a chip, and this chip is the size of the palm of our hands, and it simulates our whole body. For each one of these, the small holes that we have, it simulates one of our main organs. So one simulates our lungs, other our hearts, our brains, our tissue. So what can we do with that? Let's imagine like the situation that we have right now in the US. People are being able to choose which vaccine they want to take because of their comorbidities, health issues. So with this small drops of blood, we can simulate and we have your body simulated. We can test the vaccine prior for applying it to you, and then we can see which one are going to have a better effect or a lower side effect on the vaccine. But I'm not here to talk about these technologies and how they can support our future. But what do they all have in common? The first is as technologies that at the core of the solution, and the second is that when we are discussing about the technologies, these technologies are solving humanitarian crisis. They have a real problem to solve. But what if we change that and make an assumption for the future? That every company would be a tech company. Actually, every company right now should be already a tech company, and every company would be a for good company. When the past was the place of do business or do good, the future is the place to do business while you're doing good. And that's what's as the message that I got from these two experiences. And that's how we call digital for good. Let's talk about business, or better, let's talk about digital, because we cannot talk about business without talking about digital. And doing good and connect. Let's not split the word anymore. Let's connect things. Let's see how each one of the brands can do good for a better place. And right now I'm gonna enter a space that I can show you that this future is already happening today. We still have a lot to move forward and to expand, but we are on our way. The coronavirus crisis has taught us many things, either from inclusion, when I see George Floyd murder, nature does better with humans. We have several videos that spread out the world about animals doing better, cleaner waters. We have social disparity. If we compare the death rates according to the income rates, we have a big issue of social disparity. We have gender inequality, that right now most of the parents that were not raising their children right now have to work while taking care, and we can see at first hand how women suffer in this world. We have the harmful economic model. So we have many things here, but it all comes down to one thing, that business cannot be successful when society around them fails. And in this vision, brands and business need to be part of the relevant discussions. So we need to choose what we want to tackle, where we want to discuss, what we want to do. At S4 Capital, we believe in this motto. Like we change the work and how the work gets done, who does the work, and the impact of the work that we are doing. And this connects a lot with what we're talking about, digital for good. I'm going to give you a couple of examples here. When we're talking about change the work, how we do and what we do, let's take Google. Everyone knows Google. What if Google turned all their efforts, all the information that it has, not for increasing their selling their ads income, but to use their geolocation information to support governments about the circulation during the quarantine period? And that's what Google did. Here's an example of a report that they did for Brazil, and this is for the state of São Paulo, that they could measure and could support the governments about the level of circulation that we have on the streets for each one of the business sectors, and that with data we can take better decisions, and we can create a better future. So that all comes to data in this example of Google. Another example, also using geolocation information, is a Israeli startup called Lantern. What they do, they take this. You can install an app, for example, in our smartphones, and it can track our geolocation. So let's say that we are doing in a hospital and one person got infected, and instead of you isolating all the area and alarming people to be aware of that, we can just see if this person that got infected, who did this person have contact in the past weeks, in the past days. So we can isolate the groups and create a better response to coronavirus, to isolation, to closing business. So we have a lot of information through technology to support and to make these better decisions. Now, moving to how we change how the work gets done. I'm gonna talk about Patagonia. Patagonia is a clothing brand in the US, and it uses sustainability at the core of their business. If you just take a look at their website, they say that they are in a business to save our home planet. So they don't believe that their business should exist without a healthy planet. And the way they do that is very interesting as well, because they collaborate. They do collaborative approaches with suppliers and local communities. If you take off all these hats here, they are from recycling fishing nets, So they partner with the local communities to guarantee and alarm people not to, just leave their fishing nets here for the fishermen. And then they also recover and recollect that and uses that for producing material while cleaning the water. Also, a great example that they use it digital for that is this advertisement during the Black Friday week. So they don't buy this jacket. They inverted the rationale, because they are trying to make customers more conscious about why they buy the things and how they buy the things. So they entered and they created a campaign for you not to buy this jacket and to wait a couple of weeks and give discounts for that. So they inverted the rationale and use it digital channels to make their word spread. Ambev, many of you knows, the owner of the biggest beer brands here in Brazil. They also changed it a little bit how the work gets done. They created a water brand here. It's called Ama, that converts 100% of its profit to new projects to provide water access. So they have a platform, they can do that, and they use this to create a more collaborative ecosystems and vision and for good. And these two examples, they don't have technology in the core, but the way they do that, the process that the work gets done is very digital, because it's very collaborative, multidisciplinary, and it's not focused on only about the company, but the ecosystem. And this is how we should be thinking about digital. But this one, also from Google, it has one example of about technology. Google also is using its Google Earth approach plus machine learning to track global fishing nets. So it's using that, and they are also creating a layer here. For example, this in this first photo here, they can track through the usage of Google Maps, the level of CO2 that is being released to the air in each one of the cities. So they can support the local governments again to discuss on how to create a better impact and how to reduce the CO2 emissions in each city. Then entering right now about who does the work. I'm gonna bring you one example about as for capital. Here in as for capital, we are very committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Right now, a little bit of the numbers. Comparing 2029 against 2012, 2020, we almost balanced, the number of women and the number of men here in our company. And also, we have many things happening here in terms of diversity. We have recruitment. We have as for women leadership programs with Berkeley. We have scale ERGs. We have included content in the clients. We are also measuring the pay equity, to balance the wage equity. We have internal trainings of DEI, anti-bias, cultural sensitivity, global code conduct. We have on our hiring, we have the S4 fellowship. They were focused on minority, and then we connect with our experts and mentors to sustain these people, and also partner with tech grounds for hiring. So we are very committed that by changing who does the work, either on creating more opportunities or changing the ones that are already in the leadership positions to see their biases and see and create an anti-bias conscious is very important for us also to move to a digital for good world. And this is a very good a good example of a Brazilian company here. It's called Tochi, that they takes refugees in Brazil. They use technology, but they train them. Like for example, for you to become an app developer, they partner with companies to guarantee access that for these professionals. For example, they have a Lebanese refugee here in Brazil that was selling food on the streets, making around 700 reais. And then through their program that is free, they just train this person. This person became an app developer. And now at this first level entry, this person went from 700 reais to 3,500 reais as a first job. So they train through technology because they believe that technology will be in the core of the business. So they are just creating several initiatives here in Brazil to guarantee access for refugees. Last, about how we change the impact of the work that we are doing. Also an example for S4 Capital. We have committed to zero impact workspaces, just taking care of our home as a household, create climate neutral environmentally workspaces. We also reduced our emissions here. That's very related to to the work from home perspective, to the quarantine. But would be our new baseline. We're not gonna when everything got better again, we're not gonna go back to the 2029 version and levels, but we are gonna improve on top of what we have right now. We have the European Green Deal. We are signatures and also from the Amazon Climate Pledge. And but as every work that we do, we still are gonna have impact. We are trying to offset this impact by creating, our S4 forest. So we planted in last month 80 trees per employee to offset our emissions. And if you're thinking about how digital can impact that, we need data. We need data to measure everything that we do. Since without them, we cannot see how much effort we should be putting together right now to sustain the world and to zero our impact. So this is how we can use data and digital for change the impact of the work that we do. Another way on change the impact of the work is to create access to information. The work agroforestry, they are using technology to develop a platform that increases productivity on agroforestry through information. So on these communities, usually they don't have a lot of information access. They don't have Many of them don't have high studies. They are just they work from their experiences. But in India, they created this platform to create a community and between and share their experiences. So one community can share, successful stories about how the work flows, how to plant, how to create crops, how to water them, and then they can share information and create a better ecosystem. And at last, another way to reduce and change the impact of the work that we do, is to commit part of our profit or a big chunk of it to do good and make money. So we have many companies that are signatures of the 1% pledge that takes 1% of their bottleneck and uses for good. We have the rise and expansion of conscious capitalism and B certified companies, which is very tough to be certified, to be a B certified company, and it takes all that we discussed into consideration: the ecosystem, the impact, the CO2 emissions, the type of work that you do. So it's a way for companies to start moving for a more sustainable ways of working. So just to summarize in a nutshell, we believe in change the work and how the work gets done, who does the work, and the impact of the work. There are many ways that you can start for each one, for changing each one of them. And the message here is just start. Think about the causes that matter to you, to your business, to your company. Measure the impact of the work and use data for that. Act that and use technology to expand and to create a bigger impact. So that's what I prepared for us to talk. Thank you again. Let's keep talking. Here are my contacts, and very happy to hear your questions, thoughts, and share some knowledge here.
Awesome, Vinicius. We have a lot of questions here, so I'm gonna start with the one from Rebecca, who is here. She, if you can also read it in the chat, I believe. She says, as you know, I believe she's in banking. Banks are well known as one of the bad guys at the capitalism world. Any thoughts on how bank can be positioned as a do-good company? Any examples that you know or work for?
Yeah, I have two examples. That's a great question, Viveka. Two examples. Nubank, I don't know if you know, it's a startup here in Brazil that is also expanded to Mexico. They are in the business of making money, but they do that differently as well. So one example, they have their, if you're gonna go to their website, they basically teach you to be more conscious about your financials. So they teach you not to expand. They provide you, seamless information on how you're expanding, how you are growing your expenditures, so you can have better control and not to raise money and not to to use money and create debts and taxes. So this one example. Another one is called I forgot the name. I can share with you later. But is a company that is focused. It's called Avante. Avante, I remember. And this company it stays in the local communities here in Brazil. The slums, the favelas, and the way they do that, they give microcredits for these people that live in these local communities to on a cheaper price. So they don't charge as Itaú or the big banks here in Brazil charge. They charge very less, and they do that. And the process is very interesting. The process that they do, they don't look at the numbers of the people that, okay, what's your income? What's your credit rate? They do that by interviewing people and knowing people better. So they go to the community, they understanding who Vinicius is, for example, and then they get this qualitative information and then provide the microcredit as a very low rate for these people.
That's amazing. I think that there is in Africa there are several banks that go for the gross, and they also work with communities, and they give loans based on the projects So basically, the person who will validate the person who will get the loan will be like the community. So if someone will have like a great idea, then the bank will provide them with the loan, and it's backed up by the community. So it's also a way for some banks to help develop and have a great impact. I think that's also like a really interesting thing. I didn't know that it was also an initiative that uh, a bank
Mm.
implemented in Brazil, because sometimes we just look at opportunities in terms of business where we have the ladder of the AB economical economical state. So I think it's really nice. So I
Yeah,
have here other questions. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, you can
we have
compliment. We
we
still
have
have
an
some time.
example here, also, Melissa, in Brazil. It's called Outbank. Is a smaller bank, but they focus on C and D levels of income, and
Mhm.
they do that by transforming each person on a peer-to-peer lending. So they change the way they work, so you can make money, become a bank, and help on a lower tax rate your friend that's has a small shop here in the community. So they help each other. They created the community bank, and they're doing good here in Brazil as well.
And that, I think it's great because, like, at least for example in Peru, where we're a developing country, and here, I mean, the proportion in the CDE levels is way higher than in the AB or C plus levels. So as a business itself, if we want to change it to numbers, it's a really interesting way of making income.
Yeah,
So cool. Okay, so I have here other questions, and it goes also from the do business and do good. And I don't know, I believe COVID really transformed everything because it made us see the life and in a very different way, like this work-life balance in a different way. But companies, I believe in the past, the mindset was more like, I don't have to have like a social purpose. I just need to make money. So that was my mindset. I'm not a social company. I just need to make profit. So how can we start changing that? Because I believe this comes also from the culture of the company. So if the top leaders, they do not have this vision of having a business with purpose and impact, how can we start transforming that from the leaders side?
great. Yeah, that's a tough question because, like, ideologically speaking, we should be a for a good company, but when we the way that we are seeing some companies doing that is by creating some metrics, some KPIs that are tied to the remuneration and the income for the top level management. For example, we saw that Google, that Ambev, they are doing that. So, and the way that we should is not focus on just business KPIs, but expand that, not just focus on our company, but expand to the ecosystem. Let's talk to the community. Let's understand to whom we are selling, to where we are selling. Let's understand the reality, gather data, and then we are gonna see, the problems and the issues. The main point that I'm trying to make is that if we don't measure that, we're not gonna be conscious. If you're just measure the top line, the bottom line, the costs, we're just gonna focus on improving these KPIs. So let's create new KPIs that are more tied to the economic and to social benefits.
Oh, great. And is there like a framework or something that you can share with us where we can measure the impact of these good initiatives or digital initiatives for good? Because of course, at the end of the day, companies will still need to make profits, so they can need have the business running. So I believe the impact is really good. I'm gonna develop more on that. But do you have like any suggestions or tips for companies who actually would like to redesign this mindset or the way they see business?
Yeah. So one example that I gave from S4, for each one of the pillars that we are interested
Mhm.
on discussing about, we are creating KPIs and creating owners of these KPIs throughout the world. So for over like the 5,000 people that we have leaders in Brazil, in Argentina, Peru, Mexico, who are the owners of their KPIs and moving their KPIs ahead. So, for example, on reducing the zero impact workspace. So we have KPIs of energy savings, uh, trash generation in our offices, uh, also, the commuting. So we have all these KPIs that we are tied, and we are creating a baseline so we can move forward. For inclusion, diversity, and gender equity, we have that KPI that we focus on, hiring more women to balance our team. And now we are 45 women, 55 men. So just, look at your company with, you know like, select the causes, look at the company to find the problems, to track the data, and then we can just create the initiatives.
That's great. This gender equality, it's really like known, and like companies are trying to really have like a balanced team in terms of women and men. So I believe it's a really great initiative. Also, digital was like it's been like a really like good enabler for spreading everything. So the good messages, the good initiatives, but it also gives space for greenwashing,
Yeah.
right? And it's also easy to do it, and sometimes companies believe because they have a small initiative, they already become like a social company, or they are doing the good in the world, when some of the other processes might not be aligned to it. So how can we avoid that?
That's a great question. Uh, the way that I see is like, first, it comes from the consumers. The consumers are being more conscious. If we see like YouTube trends, like the tag sustainable is increasing a lot, so every brand is trying to put the story behind, how they do the clothes, how they process, etc. And the other part would be for the company side to be transparent. you know Patagonia is a great example. They are not perfect. They assume that they are not perfect, and they say, okay, we're not perfect, but here what we are doing, and we are trying to do good. On Patagonia side, they say that it matters more how they are doing and what they are trying to doing than to do it right, because we're gonna make mistakes because we don't know how to do that. We're building this new world. So they they do they do things that are good. They make mistakes as well, but the intention of they are doing, and the transparent, and also being highlighting the mistakes and things that are not good, is a good way to be transparent, and not to greenwash, not just to say everything is perfect, but there are bad things as well, and they're trying to correct that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's true. I think Patagonia has is a good reference for like good initiatives from the very beginning. I think they have a really great and strong culture. Vinicius, also, I am like really concerned, not concerned, but I have some like questions regarding the COVID times. As I said before, it really changed the way we see everything, and
Yeah.
it gave space to create and innovate a lot. Also thinking of the things we're doing wrong, because I think the COVID showed that most of the things we were paying attention before are not longer a real problem, or not long like a important concern. So it gave space to new innovations. It gave space to new businesses, new initiatives. Like, for example, the app you had, I think it's good, because this was a virus that spread really easily. Here in Portugal, also we had like an app similar, so it could like keep you sort of aware if you were in contact with someone that had the virus. So how can we use this experience to actually reinforce in the companies the fact of going for a purpose, going for a good objectives in terms of not leaving aside profitability again, because most of the companies need that, but like changing the mindset again, like based on what we experienced in the last year, well, this year.
Great. I believe that companies are becoming more aware of that. For example, if we take information and data from Cautions Capitalist, B Corps, we see that the companies that were more sustainable in terms of financial perspective as well were those companies that were doing good. So there are a lot of data that shows that companies with a good purpose are the companies that are more profitable. So, just to see the bright side of becoming a purpose-driven company and doing good can also become profitable. It's not a matter of, just choosing one or the other. Is one reinforcing the other? Uh, and also, when we think about, for example, if we do that, uh, uh, if a company wants to do good, their employees become more, more engaged, and the way they become more engaged, that employee experience for, customer experience is key, because we have more engaged employees. We want to tackle we become more productive, we become more aware and more willing to talk to clients, and then we can provide a better service level and then to increase. So it's not a matter of seeing things separate, but
Mhm.
seeing things connected. Nubank's a great example. They have a strong culture, and through this culture they deliver a great customer experience. So I believe that, doing good and doing projects that matter for our employees is key to make them engaged, just in the way they are doing. They were working for a company that is doing good, and now we're gonna just deliver a better project, better clients, better solutions.
I think it's very interesting what you're saying in terms of the employees or people that work within the company. I've been working in recruitment for a long time, and with the time, I've heard I've heard more and more, let's say applicants or people who is applying for a job. Um, but what kind of impact do you make as a company? Because I don't know if it's a generational thing, but it's part of what we're looking now. We want to be part of something big, something good. We're going to make an impact in the world. So how can companies actually communicate in a good way these initiatives effectively? Because it's a really powerful tool to attract talent as well. And now we're like, in a year or in the last years, we're actually fighting for talent. We want to have the best of the best, and now that there are no borders anymore, it's even the war, it's even bigger. So we need, as companies, also in a way to brand ourselves, we need to show that and use digital to communicate our purpose. And what would you recommend in that sense?
I believe that the companies, they should you know be part of the discussions that the society has right now. For example, when we're discussing about the thing that happened with Floyd in the U.S., that the Black Lives Matter, all the impact that it created, we saw many brands, just trying to use that opportunity in a way to promote themselves. Okay, now we have this and this and that. But many of these initiatives, they were not sustainable, were not kept. If you're gonna look at, but there are other companies, for example, like Nubank, like S4, etc., that they made a commitment. Also Magazine Luiza here in Brazil, they made a commitment. They saw that the reality, there was a cause that matters for them, and they want to help. And the way that companies should be doing is not to do, spot initiatives, but make a commitment for the long term, because we're not going to solve these issues on 2 years, 1 year basis of, making an effort on hiring, but making that a long term and a core of the business. If we don't take for the long term and we not make a commitment to sustain that for 10, 20 years, we're not going to solve that. And we're going to use just for a matter of promotion and not actually change the world.
Okay, great. I think I made you already a lot of questions, but thank you so much for answering them all. I think it's going to be really enlightening for everyone who is looking at this presentation. I don't know if you want to wrap up or close with any advice to all the audience.
Great. No, thank you, Melissa. Thank you, everyone who was watching that. Uh, just my message was, think one of the causes that you are engaged, start small. We don't have to think big. If we start small, that's already enough for us to change, and then we can keep scaling and connect with different people, collaborate. Don't look at the competitive side. Just talk to your neighbor, talk to your colleague, talk to your competitor, and just try to collaborate for, because if you are on the right move to, you know, if you are committed to the right cause, there's no competitors, because if you succeed, I will succeed. So that's the main message that comes to me.
That's great. I think it's a great and powerful message. Well, Vinicius, I thank you so much again. We are recording this presentation that we can also send it to all the people that sign up for the summit, and they, if they couldn't attend or watch this like live, they could give it a second look. So I'm also going to give to the audience your contact on LinkedIn so they can follow on your work. And I believe like you have a lot to share in this matter. So thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing afternoon, and we keep in touch.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.